So I do have some good news, Donnie, in terms of the UFL contest. So we are still not seeing the volume that we saw at the beginning, which we kind of figured even the NFL teeters out with their money slightly later in the year. But they have decided to basically up the prize pools a bit. So they're offering smaller or fewer contests, but they have upped the pricing in terms of trying to entice people this week to play. So if you are considering it and you feel like there's an edge, we're going to give you some lineups and some strategies, but there is some bit of incentive. A lot of contests got a slight boost, and the price.
So is there still like the dollar entry?
I didn't see the dollar entry, but I think that the 20 entry max went up a few $100s, which isn't a huge.
There's a 20 entry max with a $1,200 prize pool, which is a little bit above.
Yeah, so they have raised that up from this week, so they are trying to do some things. So I do appreciate that. I do think there's an information edge this week. I know you said you hadn't followed a lot of it this week because you were busy, but there was quite a bit of changes, and I'll go over some of them now. We can, but a lot of skill positions, wide receiver, running backs. There's a lot of teams, like I was telling you before we started. A lot of teams this week will be using 2 running backs. Basically no 3 running back systems. And just for entertainment purposes only, I got to go through this screen just so I don't share what contest we're in. Okay, but now I can do this. So we saw Memphis was using Wes Hills. He basically signed last week. No one knew the usage he was going to get. He got 13 carries, saw 3 receptions. He played UFL last year for, I believe, the Michigan Panthers, had a knee injury, probably would have been signed earlier this year. He looks like the primary back. The head coach of this team, they used to play, he used to be an offensive coordinator when he got his NFL chance. McFarland's out, as you guys can see. So it looks like Corbin's going to get all the run over with the Brahmas because Robbins hasn't really done much at all. They really haven't trusted him. So Corbin looks like the main guy. We already know Kellen Mond was out last week, so they went to Hogan. But Kirkland looks like he's back. He only played 1 snap last week, Donnie. They made him active, but he only played 1 snap. They also made a trade. They traded for Anderson, who used to play for Memphis, who was actually playing pretty well. But it looks like, but then here's the weird thing is Kirkland is now active, but he's in a backup role. The primary starters are Smith and Henry, the 2 cheapest players on the DraftKings board. There's also some inactive news with Memphis. We don't know if Davis is coming back, but like I said, they traded Anderson to the Brahmas, so that's going to open up one of these 3K slot receivers. Loxley could be used. Washington saw some usage last week. No one knows there. If Davis comes back, I could argue with you that Davis is better than Adams. So pay attention to that news.
So Davis, is he going to play? Because he's listed as out right now.
He's listed
as inactive for Sunday's game versus the Roughnecks, is what it says.
That was last week's updates. And no one knows yet. Yeah. The depth chart for that game should be out tomorrow night. Okay. So, unfortunately, this is the kind of the information gap where we just have to stay on our toes. And if you stay up on the news, there could be a good gap there. Sims is out for the Roughnecks. I wanted to mention the big one is Balaj is out for the season, so he won't be returning at all. So here's the big news there. So Hunter is going to be the primary, and the old Michigan running back Smith, who's just basically a plotter at goal line back. So Hunter looks like he could get 60% of the carries, probably at least. But they signed Jones from the Saints to come in this week. But there's a chance, apparently, that he could play this week, even though he knows very little of the playbook. So I think Hunter is a great value, but if Jones comes in, the weird thing about Jones is he's not even on the roster. So, I guess you can get quarterback points. So I feel like there's a lot of news to react to because then in the Houston Roughnecks, Merritt's going to sit, so it's White and Lingard, and we tried Lingard in week 1. He's a terrible plotter. White saw the most usage last week of all these running backs, so he's in a prime position, but he costs a lot more than Corbin or Hunter. Hunter's $1,000 cheaper, and then Corbin's almost $2,000 cheaper. I saw Gov snuck in as I was giving the update on all this news. There's a lot of news to break down this week. So like I say, just pay attention to depth charts.
This is usually that time of year when the teams that know they don't have a shot at the title will start playing other guys, will start resting guys just to see what their team is.
Correct. And we can take advantage of that because that means you can play a Sailors and one of these cheap guys that you know is going to get volume because it's basically an experimental, like see if you can catch on with the NFL team in the preseason time. You know, we know your season's over, but there's still a chance that you could show up for one of the NFL teams in the spring. So, and DraftKings hasn't priced that in. So, I mean, you can see where they thought Balaj was still going to be the starter. And it's most definitely going to be Hunter. Hunter's also very explosive as a receiver as well. So I am very interested in Corbin and Hunter. Donnie, do you have any initial thoughts? Because I know you didn't know a lot of this news, but anything I said that really stuck out to you that caught your eye?
There's one player I do want to think about playing. Obviously, DC is playing a not good San Antonio team, and they have a guy under 6K at running back who got 10K carries last week in Deion Jackson. That's like one of the big guys on my radar right now.
I do have notes on that as well. Jackson apparently could see an uptick this week. They really liked what he did. Smith has been really inefficient with his carries, like under a yard per carry, and they've been giving it work. Jackson has been more like 4 or 5, right?
Yep. Jackson last week had 10 carries and had 10 carries and 1 target. Yeah, only got 5 fantasy points, but that's a good workload.
So you do have
also, we didn't do a review last week, so I do want to bring out Toei. Toei 2, whatever, the Michigan running back. He was robbed out of one of his touchdowns because for once the other guys, McCrary was able to punch it in at the goal line, and then he also got a 2-point run for some reason, and we could have had a 30-point running back, and the Michigan coaches gave us the middle finger.
He looked fantastic.
But I did cash last week, so.
Yeah, he looked fantastic.
He does look fantastic.
I would go back to that. By the way, Duggan and not Duggan. I mean, who am I trying to think now?
Perkins.
No, Perkins and who's the other quarterback?
Etling.
No. For DC, I don't know what the names are escaping me. Taimu. They're projected to be 25% owned this week. So basically, people are playing those 2 quarterbacks and no one else.
They average over 20 a game, and no one else besides Wynn is close.
They've been super consistent. Now, Wynn kind of came on late. He's looked really good, but no one trusted because Memphis has been very inconsistent. And then they traded away one of their most efficient wide receivers in Anderson this week, which made no sense to me. They traded for a corner to a team that had like no inspiration at all to make the playoffs. So I don't understand some of these trades because Houston traded for Sims and then he played like very little practice, got hurt the next week, and we haven't seen him at all. So like none of these trades have worked out. I think the Sailors thing has sailed. Like I would play him. I think he's a good player, but like they still got him priced up like he's a workhorse, and he's only averaging like 6 points in the last 3 weeks.
His high score in the last 3 weeks is 9.2. Since he's been over 10K, he's only scored over 20 once.
Is his floor still there?
No, it's like he had 6 points 1 week.
Well, I mean, I can look at the stats too. I'm just saying from your like eyeballs, we've watched a lot. Like, do you trust him? Is he like one of those guys where you're like, well, at least he isn't going to get 0? Like, I'm trying to think of the like.
Because like my thing is, we talked about it earlier in the year. What was saving him was touchdowns. If he's not getting the touchdowns, he's not scoring the points.
So, Gov, do you trust the touchdowns? Is this a guy that you're like, well, in a league where there's not like a lot of consistency and a lot of,
it's hard to trust touchdowns even in a league, even for teams that I know are scoring. But in a league like this, like, I don't think I can, like, I really want to try to get the guys getting the touchdowns, but like, I don't know.
Oh, and I have an interesting Duggan stat. Apparently, he's averaging more rushing yards than he is pass completions. So, I don't know if you guys saw, but he had only like 9 passing completions last week, but was super efficient on the ground. Like, very unique kind of Tim Tebow-like game where he was like really electric, just wasn't doing it at all through the passing game. And then Parsons is also banged up this week, could miss. And if he misses, maybe Sailors gets more dump offs. That's the only reason I brought that up. Or maybe we see a Butler just explosion week. I believe Butler has like 4 catches and like 3 touchdowns too, by the way. So if I was going to pay it for any kind of splash performance, Butler would be my guy. But I've made that case. Just athleticism wins in this league, and he's uber athletic.
Yeah, my only question about Butler is he hurt again? Because he didn't practice. He was sick yesterday.
Yeah, apparently he was sick, and it was precautionary because Parsons is already banged up. So Parsons is apparently the real threat to miss this week. And so they were being very, very cautious with their other wide receivers, which I think is a thing about this league that we don't talk enough about. Like, we already see a talent deficit sometimes in this league compared to other professional leagues, say the NFL. And if you start adding injuries to it, we're going to start to really see the talent, distribution quite a bit. So is there anything that you want to make sure we talk about, want to make sure you highlight in a lineup if you were going to do this? Like, because a lot of the talk this week has been around Parsons and then Taimu and then Sailors being that price still. I know even like our friend Double J, who took down a couple of the Millie Max, earlier this season, was maxing it out. Because he said he's basically toned down his exposure to the UFL just because of the contest. I did tell Donnie though early when we started, they have raised the prize pool slightly for these contests. So they're offering
kind of, but there's also way less contests available.
That's just what I was going to say. They made less contests but raised the price. So I do think it's an interesting move.
They're trying to consolidate, and you see like the contests are only like 1,000 people, so like they know it's a niche sport.
Anything you wanted to talk about though? Because usually we start with the Sailors thing, but I think Sailors is pretty easy no for me. But I mean, I wouldn't argue it against him because I know he's talented.
And I'm on the week where I think this is a Sailors week, especially with what you said earlier. Like, we're going to be able to find a stack with a wide receiver or two that are going to be cheap, or a running back that's going to be cheap. So we have no problem to just have that late hammer ready to go.
And Donnie mentioned it. We don't do the review show anymore just because of time consolidations in our schedule. So, like, this is kind of a conversation to talk about players in a more general perspective. So, do you think his ownership is going to be lower, or like people are going to feel disappointed recently? So, it's like this is a good time to jump on and maybe take advantage of some ownership. Because we know one thing: Sailor should not get 0. He's going to get some more.
No, he'll be owned. Like, he'll be one of the highest projected guys. Like, I don't even expect his ownership to be that low. His still might be a 40-50% owned guy.
Yeah.
I don't know if he'll be 70 or 80.
Yeah.
But I still expect him to be that 50-50 choice you have to make.
When he was at his highest, I think he was at 60%, and he's been as low, I think, as 33 in some of the contests I've seen him in. But I think you're probably right. He hovers around somewhere in between there.
40 to 50 is probably where I think. And like that's enough where like you need to make your decision on him when you're going into this. Especially with him being the most expensive guy and the late hammer game.
Yeah. I agree with you because we could go with a Smith or a Henry who are projected to be San Antonio starting wide receivers. And we, they're like 3K. So we definitely have enough money for Sailors. No problem. Donnie, I know you're eating, so if you need me to, I can do it as well. But do you have a number generator?
I actually do not have it ready, but I can pull it up really quick.
I'm ready to go when you guys are. Oh, actually, give me one second.
All right, I'll pick my number first. I'm going to pick number 12. Actually, I'll go 11. Edelman Goes number retired.
Your camera
88. Yeah, I just turned my camera off. Give me 1 second.
No, I was going to tell
I will go with number 88, though.
88. Let me go 81. I usually go player numbers. 88 reminded me of Kelvin Johnson's 81.
All right.
So 11, 88, 81.
My connection was. Here we go. Number is 48. The math is mathing, and that means I'm first with Logan and Gov last.
So no quarterbacks first. Like and subscribe. Please do that. We're going to give you a lineup right ahead of us. But go ahead, Donnie.
I'm going to start us off quickly, get the running back off the board, get us Jackson from DC. A running back off the board, I should say. Because there's a world where we play more than one.
I think this is the week you could definitely do it. So it's my pick, right?
Yes.
Okay, give me Smith from San Antonio. I'll show you why, because he's really cheap for one. This could open up the Sailors play. He saw 8 targets. I think he's Hogan's number 1 guy. And now he's listed as the number 1 guy. If Kirkland comes back, I actually think Smith could still be the guy, could play opposite. It could be Stevenson. It could be Henry, but I think Smith has proven to get the volume. And the price is just wrong. It's actually a bring back, Donnie. I didn't realize that.
Little mini stack. All right. Well, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to give us a little bit of value in our stack. So first things first, we're going to play Lassiter the second from Memphis. And I'm just going to go ahead and stack him with Wynn.
I don't mind Wynn. He got 19 points last week. He's looked good in every
He's
game.
been solidly consistent, and until he's priced up, if he gets you the 19, the only quarterbacks to beat him are going to be like $3,000 more.
I tried to tell Donnie the first week when I started him, when he played for Sean McVay, I'm like, McVay, I like this guy. Donnie didn't want to believe me. He wanted to think he was a bum. Didn't even believe he deserved an NFL contract, which might be true, but I just liked his mock.
To be fair, the week you played Win and I didn't, Duggan did score 30.
It's true, he did. But they kind of like, they both take chances. They're just like having fun out there. I like this chance.
The only reason why I don't like Win this week is because his favorite target got traded in Anderson.
It's true, but to Gov's point, maybe that is going to be just filled in with Lassiter because he has liked Lassiter as well. Adams has been really the guy who has seen the biggest drop off since they went to Win. Because if you look at it, I mean, he's gotten 6 and 6 targets the last 2 weeks, and remember they traded a wide receiver away as well, so we don't know what that's going to look like. I don't mind this. It's back to you, right, Donnie?
No, it's you. You're in the middle.
Yeah, I'm gonna take another mini stack. Give me Butler. Obviously, if he plays, I would let the guys know and we'll make it an adjustment from there. But it looks like this is just a precautionary thing. Let me ask you a question actually quickly because I do think it's relevant for the people building a lineup. It looks like Parsons could play, but if he's limited, apparently he had a leg issue coming in. Do you think they'll ramp up Butler? Do you think it's the same offense? Like, because that's the problem with this Battlehawks team is they just haven't passed the ball very much. They've been very run happy. I mean, I talked about last week only getting 9 completions. That's really low for a quarterback efficiency.
Well, when your quarterback only completes 36%, yeah.
Yeah. I just think that, Butler has such a high touchdown upside, and if he actually gets a volume game, he could smash.
I could see that. It's risky, but like, I don't hate that. All right, so whose pick is it now?
It's mine. That gives me. Yeah. How much do we have left? I'm just gonna play the DC defense.
Yeah, I think that's a good call. San Antonio's offensive line has been atrocious. They've been the worst efficiency offense too. I think they've scored the lowest amount of points in like the last 3 weeks. Basically, since Wade Phillips has got there, I think they've only got like a handful of touchdowns.
And that leaves us with the decision of, do we play Sailors? And even then, we'll still have money to go around and look at the lineup and figure some other stuff out.
Yeah. I think we could play Sailors. I also like Hall too. Hall has been a sneaky, consistent wide receiver. We ended up mint cashing it last week, I believe, and it was mostly due to your Hall call. Maybe we didn't though, because we didn't have Rollins, and that really cost us because he had a 30-point week. We were close on the cash line. Do we just plug in Sailors? Does it make sense?
I think it does.
I think it makes a lot of sense. I haven't played Sailor. He's gonna be low owned, right? Like he can't be super high owned anymore.
Gup could be right where he's still going to be like 30 or 40%. But I mean, he was 66 when he was going on his hot streak after that like 3 touchdown week. So this lineup does make some sense, but I think we could spend some more money.
Oh yeah, we can definitely. Like, I'm not sure if we need the Smith value, or maybe we can get a better stack with Lynn.
Could we? Because I would be interested in Hunter if Hunter was the only viable running back with Balazs being out. Also, wouldn't mind Wes Hills either, who I mentioned, who got like 16 touches last week. I just think this could be a running back week.
And Hunter is confirmed like the only running back.
Well, they signed Jones Jones from the Saints, who is like a pass catcher, like Darren Sproles type, but no one knows if he'll be able to play. I mean, they technically have the other running back, Smith from Michigan, who's been called up, but he's like literally like a 36-year-old, 37-year-old plotter at this point. Like, think of a poor man's like Garrett Blount.
Well, Balazs isn't playing. It's the point. 100%.
Yeah, Balazs is not playing. Balazs is up for the season.
Interesting. You know what's crazy? My personal lineup legitimately has 3 running backs now.
I think Tony Jones Jr. could be a very good add for Arlington. And even if he did play this week, I do think he'll get some touches. They're just not allowed to play him in DraftKings. What would you guys do? Because I think I know what I would do.
I'm looking right now. Yeah, this is a weird spot, honestly, in my mind.
Yeah.
I feel like one of the 2 value guys is the guy we get off of.
Right.
But I don't know which one or which range that puts us in that I like. Like,
I'm almost. Go ahead, Dan. You were going to say something?
How much is that? We have 2,500. That's. Yeah, we do. It's just such a weird spot with the quarterback we're playing. I don't know where you go stack wise. And my lineup was very heavy on this DC San Antonio game versus the St. Louis Memphis game as well. So I switched off some of it. I felt like I was too heavy on those 2 games, so I went into the Michigan game.
I mean,
So we could play Hunter. I thought we could. So we could play Hunter there, who's projected to be the starter and gets
it's 62.
Like in that 6K rate, who I have would be like Powell from DC.
Yeah. Or we could play Corbin from San Antonio, who is projected to be the starting running back, given McFarland's out. He's 53. Because this Robbins guy hasn't done much at all. Like you can see, he had 1 carry for a negative yards.
Right now, I'm at 6,200 and need a wide receiver personally, and that's where I'm lost.
See, and I'm at 6K in the flex, and yeah, I think I just end up on like.
You know who might be a good play that we haven't spoke of? Chisholm from Houston.
He could be.
That's a maybe. Like him and Powell, I think. Like those are probably my 2 choices.
I don't think DC is going to have to pass. Like I don't see a recipe where DC is going to be pass heavy this week.
Okay, so Marcus Sims, I thought he was out, but Marcus Sims did get a limited practice today. So that gets me off of Chisholm a bit.
But did Marcus Sims play last week or no?
He did not. I think Corbin would still be my guy running back in this range.
I could see that. Like he's definitely going to get work.
The
only problem is then I don't want to be playing the DC defense at that point.
Yeah. Well, that's another option. If we got off of the DC defense, we could go with a White from Houston, who looks like he'll be the primary running back with Merritt out. Like then we could open.
We definitely can't do that. There's no way we get 1,700 from.
Oh yeah.
We're gonna get like honestly, we're probably gonna lose $100.
Yeah, because
when we change defense.
Yeah.
Because I think the better defense would be to like just pay 45 for the most expensive. Like we're not gaining any money. We're still gonna be in the same range. We're just gonna. I would want to change defense if we went to Corbin.
Yeah, man, we really are in a range, though. I do like DC's defense.
Yeah, so if that's fine, that just means we're not doing Corbin. We have to play someone else. I don't want to play the running back against our defense.
This 6K range really isn't great.
Go to flex. Quit looking at just running back. Because honestly, I don't even want to play a running back. We already have Sailors, and we're taking a shot on a cheap guy. So like
the 6K receiver range really isn't great.
Harris, Chisholm. I still think we're on either like Chisholm or Powell, honestly.
Right.
Whichever game environment you like better.
Well, San Antonio just hasn't pushed the ball, but maybe Hogan really does change that. He did look better as a quarterback. So if you think...
Well, no. Powell's the DC defender, so...
No, I'm saying if you think San Antonio can actually push in that game and make DC have to throw the ball.
Yeah, I don't. That's my problem. I don't think DC is going to be pushed.
Yeah.
And if they are, they're going to go to the other receivers.
Why would you say they go to the other receivers?
Because the deep shot guy is Rowland by far. Sanders has 8 targets. He consistently gets 7 to 8 targets a game. I mean, Powell's wide receiver 3 on this team.
What would it be smart if I did
that?
What if I just paid up for Hall instead of Butler? Would that be smarter? Would that put us in a range that we like better?
I mean, it would definitely change our range.
Because
I wouldn't mind that. I wouldn't mind that because I am more comfortable with that range. At least I don't feel like I'm leaving stuff on the table, you know?
Let me see.
Well, personally, like as long as it's under $1,000, I have no problem leaving money on the table. Like if we're leaving 600, that's perfectly fine in my mind.
Yeah.
Right. But I'd be much more comfortable with playing like a random one-off Greg Ward in hopes he gets that 4 to 5 targets again. You know?
I'm not.
Yeah, I would still want to go.
I'm sorry. Like I have to push back. Like if you're not gonna play the DC guy because you don't think the game gets pushed, then I wouldn't even consider the random San Antonio guy.
Well, San
hoping
Antonio
he is.
hasn't kept games close, and Ward has gotten targets. Granted, he hasn't played in a couple weeks, so there's that.
I still think Smith or Corbin is a really good value for San Antonio, but I understand you want to move off the defense.
I mean, I don't see any reasons DC doesn't chuck it. Like, this looks like a team that wants to throw the ball. They have, like, Tamu has, like, 4 30-plus passing games, like, or 30-plus attempt games. Like, I don't see any reason DC's running their normal offense won't throw the ball. Like, they don't look like a team that goes through the run.
They haven't.
Like, I am not afraid of the third wide receiver.
But they've also been in close games outside of last week. What was the stats last week for?
When they won 38-14, Tamu threw it 36 times.
Well,
yeah, they threw
and threw 2 touchdowns.
Yeah,
I mean,
like, I'm not afraid. Like, this is not the NFL. There's not a game script that makes you not throw. Like, DC throws the ball. That's what they're going to do to win games.
Not only that, but they throw it at a Chip Kelly level compared to everyone else. Like they're
like even like the most they've ever had was like a 21 carry game against St. Louis earlier this year. And like, again, that was a game where they won 27-15. But I'd have to go back and look at week 3 stats to see exactly what went on in that game. But otherwise, like, this looks like a team that's perfectly willing to throw it when necessary.
Yeah.
Like, they've got one of the more veteran quarterbacks. Like, again,
you're right. I'm pushing back.
If you guys don't want Powell, that's fine with me. But I don't see anyone in that 5,300 or less range that's even viable. And you guys are telling me you like that range better. Like, I need that 5,700 or higher because I don't like any of the people. Like, if we're going below 5K, we're probably playing the $3,500 guy. We're playing the actual hardcore value. And if that's the case, then you're definitely getting up from Hall. You're like, I just think, like, right now, I think we've kind of built with too much value. Like, if we're not going to just leave 500 on the table, then we probably need to switch off Wynn and Lassiter to a different quarterback stack. And then we can just play that $3,500 dude as the last guy in.
Yeah. Well,
but that's a totally different lineup now at that point.
Right. See, I'm not playing the win stuff, so I didn't look in this range too much. But you're right about Powell. Powell makes more sense. They're gonna pass it. They're gonna pass it at least 25 times, no matter what.
Powell, and then we'll have to move back down to Butler.
Right.
We can always go down at defense if you want that 400. Like the Panthers, Michigan defense at 4K.
I think Butler
even Arlington on the other side at 39. Like, I think either of those would be fine if you wanted to get off DC. Otherwise, you would need to go down.
But Butler's an okay one because it pairs with our quarterback stack, and it's a late game hammer.
Yeah.
This is what it would look like, unless you guys wanted to rebuild it and see if we like that better.
I don't hate that. It's a big late game stack with DC stuff early.
It is.
Yeah, I do want to point out the DC defense did not have a single point against San Antonio in the first game they matched up. Obviously, different quarterback, different situation. No sacks is rare for DC, but it is something to note.
It was also, I think, Greg Williams' last game, or one of the last games he coached as well. So that whole identity is totally different in DC, but it is a good.
Right. So maybe DC defense is a bad play, but I almost think I want to go back to it, knowing that so much has changed. And this defenders team, they take pride in that defense.
I do think the top 3 defenses are going to be very high on this week. I think DC defenders are the highest projected on defense of the week, which makes sense. I mean, go kind of talk about it. Some teams are just giving up on the season, so you definitely want to attack them. And San Antonio is one of those teams.
Right.
Anything else you guys want to mention before we get out of here?
Nope. I like the lineup. I'm hoping we get a good set of games this weekend. I might actually get to watch them.
See, I've actually really enjoyed the product. I'll say that. I think the product's improved. I do think it's a very fun development league, and I think we're starting to see that even NFL guys are signing this late in the year. Arlington's going to be an interesting storyline to follow. So just pay attention to depth charts. I mean, you have to do a bit of work in this league, but I do think it pays off. We bring it up almost every time this time of year, but it was right around this week where we played Durant just a few, right around this time of the year, and we paid for our whole entire season. So if you feel like there's an edge, if you hear some late breaking news, don't be afraid to, tack a lineup and build around it. Like we did in this lineup, we built around something we believe in. We obviously believe that the last game could be something until we built around it. So with that being said, like and subscribe. It's been working. You guys have been showing us some love. We finally got some numbers, but there's still a lot of people that watch this channel and don't subscribe. And I know it seems annoying, but like we're a small channel, so we thrive when we see these boosts. So if you could just like and subscribe on the way out. If we gave you anything of interest or some entertainment, something to think about. With that being said, good night, guys. Take care. We'll see you next week.